New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
This holiday, instead of giving them something nice, why not gift them somewhere nice? During the IHG Hotels and Resorts Cyber Sale, you can do just that and save. Shopping is easy in the IHG One Rewards app, where you'll save 20% on travel across 6,000 plus global destinations. And if you want to gift yourself somewhere nice, go ahead. You'll earn more and save more during the cyber sale. Check out all the deals at ihg.com/cybersale. Terms apply.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's Jennifer and Jennifer.
Hey!
Otherwise known as Hoop and Loop. We did a podcast earlier this morning with the breaking news of the search warrant on Chad Daybell's home, which we'll summarize all that in a minute for you. But we were going to start this podcast later in the week, but with everything going on today, we just decided to jump right on and get this started, because this is months in the making where, you know, we've been waiting on a break in this case, and now we have it, and it's not necessarily the news that, you know, we wanted to hear. So with that, let's just kind of recap where we are, and we're just going to do this for a while. We're going to kind of troll social media for you, see what we can find, what people are saying. We'll look on Twitter. So we're just going to kind of just have an open dialogue here, and we may go off in left field talking about the case. But anyway, so we're just glad to be here with you guys, and we hope that y'all like this, and we would love to do this in the future. I think this case is, this case is just getting started, and there's going to be a lot of content here about this. So anyways, if you're just joining us this morning at 7 a.m., law enforcement executed a search warrant at Chad Daybell's house. And for a while, that was kind of all we knew. Nate Eaton got up in the chopper and went over the house. We were able to see that they were focused on a couple of areas. One of a more major area, which is by what looks to be a fire pit. And then there's also a retention pond that looks drained over in the corner of the property. There were a couple of investigators over there, but we think the main area, obviously, that they found remains in was around that fire pit. So, Fruit Loop, what do you think about today's events?
It's been crazy since we got news this morning. It's everything just coming down. Like, social media has been blown up with everybody commenting, posting on all those sites that we're on. It's just been crazy. You know, we've waited, however many months.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, for his arrest, and it gets here, and you're like...
Yeah, you just have a little feeling of, it's like you don't want to believe it. I mean, I think that, what Fruit Loop and I have talked about for a very long time is that I've covered trials for years with another company, and it's kind of a thing where we've only been able to speculate for so long about this case because authorities have been very tight-lipped and not much has come out. And so, that just leads to everybody speculating 24/7 about what they're finding. And then a day like today where you find that they have found human remains literally in his backyard, it just, I'm almost speechless right now.
Yeah. We were all hoping, for the best, and we still don't know, until the police identify, who it is.
Right.
Somebody commented earlier, as many deaths as, there's been in this case, it could be anybody. So, but, yeah, it's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I never would have thought that anything like that would have been found at his home. I mean, they were there in January, but granted, that search warrant was for the interior. They were seen outside with metal detectors and but there was a lot of snow on the ground. I assume the ground was frozen. But, you know, what we said in the earlier podcast, and I think we both agree, is that this is so specific. I think maybe Lori is talking.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I just, you know, because they executed the search warrant at 7. I think I caught on about 8 o'clock. I'm not sure what time I called you to let you know, but, you know, so it's not like they combed the grounds for hours before they found their spot. It almost seems like once everybody was there and established, they went right to the area beside the fire pit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they had the dogs out there as well. So
yeah, and you said you saw a dive team.
Yeah, there was I think it was called Snake River Dive Search Team or something.
Yeah, so it seems like they came with everything they needed. So to me, it just, you know, I don't think we're going to find that this was some sort of an anonymous tip. I think it's going to be from somebody very close to the situation. I can only imagine Lori right now. But you never know. And there's Melanie and Ian, although I just don't think she would be the one to say, here's where their bodies are. You know, but this is definitely a turn that I anticipated. I'm very sad about it, even though I kind of knew it was coming. But I think, you know, obviously the first big shocker is that there are human remains on his property.
Yeah. I think, you know, again, what the families are going through right now.
Yeah.
You know, hearing this news today is just, you know, it's devastating for them and what they've been through.
Right.
Like we all, like, I don't even know how many people's been involved in this case, but it's tons of people. And I can't imagine what they're going through.
Yeah.
So, Nate and them just put out that he's being questioned and he hasn't been arrested or charged yet. So
yeah, I mean, I don't buy too much into that. That's procedure.
Yep.
Clearly, they found a body on his property. He's not going to go free tonight and be home in time for supper. This is part of it. So I would just assume Lori has ratted. Now, how we found out there were human remains, Annie Cushing, who is Tylee Ryan's aunt and Joseph Ryan's sister, put in the groups that we are in today that at first she said that a victim's advocate had contacted her to let her know they would be digging on the property. And then I guess maybe an hour or so after she posted that, she posted the update that they had found human remains. In the meantime, Chad was home when they executed the search warrant. And I think about an hour and a half later, he left the residence and looked like Fremont police, based on the picture I saw, pulled him over and detained him, handcuffed him, put him in a car, and then sealed the car with tape, which is just to let law enforcement know this is obviously going to be, you know, searched thoroughly. And they put that little seal there so that they know potential evidence hasn't been compromised. So it's definitely a big deal. You know, I've seen a lot of people kind of freaking out that he hasn't been charged yet or arrested, but it's going to come. There's so many people there. It's, you know, we counted at least 20 cars. You had the FBI van there, their mobile unit. So this is a big deal. You know, I think we're just going to end up and learn a lot in the next day or so about what they have found over the course of these. You know, the kids have been missing for 8 months?
Yeah.
So we're looking at 6 months of this case being public. So, you know, maybe now we finally start getting some answers.
Yeah. And like you said, we've just been throwing theories out there left and right.
Yeah.
Of, you know what, but
yeah, and it's,
you know.
Right. And it's so hard when you're following a case like this and you're invested and, you know, you begin to care about the family. You kind of see what they're going through. And so it's very emotional today. I mean, I've covered cases in the past, but, you know, the Jodi Arias case, I got to know some of the family real well. So it definitely had a different layer of sadness for me with his story. But this one, I think, you know, for me, this is kind of my first missing kids case where you get very invested and then, you know, what you assume is going to be the outcome happens. Now, we should add, we do not know for a fact that the human remains found on that property belong to Tylee or JJ right now. They haven't confirmed any of that. I don't know that they will confirm that right now. They probably, I guess, to be safe, would have to perform DNA, an autopsy and DNA for a positive confirmation on those remains. But it doesn't look good at this point.
Yeah, and I just read a post a minute ago. They're, saying the same thing, that it looked like the the police went straight to where, you know, where they wanted to search.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a big area.
It is.
A big yard.
He has several acres, I believe. So for them to go right there, straight to that fire pit area. Now, I did read that not too long ago, somebody passed by Chad's house, a local, and said that he was having a big bonfire with about 8 to 10 people out there. I don't know if that ties in here or what, but I mean, how crazy. What a sick man to have people over, or even your kids out there, and there's a body right there, buried. I mean, at this point, it makes me wonder what his kids knew.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you live in a house and not know that the ground's dug up and, Dad's in the middle of a missing kid case and there's disturbed ground in our yard? I'm baffled as to how they can defend this man when obviously what we're seeing today, there were some obvious signs things were amiss.
Yeah. And the thing that we talked about, earlier, his background in, working at the graveyard or whatever, like he's a professional at burying things, so it doesn't. He knows how to mount it where it doesn't sink.
Yeah.
And different things like that. So his background, would have helped him in that area. You just don't know. And the other one was, how could he do that and not be seen doing that?
Right. But it looks like those houses are spaced pretty far apart. So it's probably a thing of, at the time that the kids, or I don't want to say the kids, at the time these remains were buried, there might not have been as much focus on Chad himself at that moment.
Sure.
It could be that he whatever is buried, or whoever is buried there, that was done before the media really caught on to the story. Mm-hmm. I don't see him coming back from from Kauai and then burying a body.
Yeah.
Was a body buried when he was in Hawaii? There's a lot of questions here.
Oh, exactly.
Is somebody helping him?
Yeah. On the Fine Tally and JJ page, Bethany Melnick, she threw out some stuff that was pretty good. She said that she personally thought that the Melanie Gibb interview was set up as a strategy, either by law enforcement, FBI, or, whoever, to get to Lori and or Chad.
Right.
Just how she talked and things she said made it seem like they were hoping that she would get them to talk.
That's a good point.
And not long after that, this is where we are.
Right. And we've talked about it over the last couple of weeks with Melanie Gibb and Julie Rowe?
Yeah, Julie Rowe.
Julie Rowe, excuse me, with, so many people coming out of the woodwork and wanting to talk about this case. We kind of theorized there was something going on. There's a reason that they're allowing all these people to all of a sudden do these sit-down interviews, any question asked, with Nate mainly. So it's going to be interesting to see, the FBI, law enforcement, they know the strategies to get people to break. And I think that's probably, I'm not going to be surprised to find out that Lori broke.
Yeah.
She hasn't been around Chad for months. People can have a grip on you when they're at arm's length. Put a little distance in there, let the dust settle, and then all of a sudden, did Lori's normal brain kick back in where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm of the mindset that Chad is the mastermind of all this, and Lori is not innocent by any means. But I do feel like Chad has been the one directing everything at this point for his purpose and what he saw as his religion and how to further that purpose. And then Lori obviously had her own mental issues of needing to be validated, maybe needing to be important, that kind of thing. And like I always compare the two, it's like fire and gasoline, those two. They just flame each other up. And unfortunately, we're at a point now to where there are human remains in his backyard. Yeah,
it's other pictures are starting to come out a little bit clearer. And they're gridding off, a lot of the backyard, searching and all.
They're going to be there a while. There's a lot of property here, And I'm sure they'll probably, it could be a situation where they may end up and bring in their fancy sonar that shows you what's under the ground because, when you're talking about a bunch of acres, it's, it can be like finding a needle in a haystack. One piece of evidence that could solidify this case, such as a murder weapon or I don't want to say solidify, but, anything to make this more solid. So I'm looking at a live video now of an investigator who is digging under a tent. He looks like he is up to his waist, if not maybe a little higher. So clearly they are still looking for more things down in that same area. Is it a situation where they're looking for another set of remains? Probably at this point. But yeah, I think they definitely had, some sort of a tip that came from somebody who really knows. And, I guess maybe we're going to start to see the pieces of the puzzle come together before our eyes in the next, few days, weeks. Because when they arrest Chad, they're going to have to tell what he's charged with. And do they go ahead and, if this is indeed, the kids or remains of JJ or Tylee or both, do they go ahead and throw in the Tammy charges and the Charles charges for her and him possibly? That would be the way to do it. I think we talked about how this is going to impact that preliminary hearing next month. I would assume if these charges are upgraded to murder, there's not really any point in having a preliminary hearing for desertion.
Exactly.
So this, but I think at this point nobody really cares about a hearing for desertion if we know the kids are dead. That's all going to come in much later at a bigger trial.
So somebody commented on in the True Crime page. Remember the rumor that Chad wanted to bring in a manufactured home? Wonder if he was planning to place that over that spot. That's a good point.
Oh yeah, because you'd have to put down a concrete foundation.
Yeah.
I don't think he was able to pull off getting that trailer though.
Yeah, they're just saying. I wonder if that was his thinking.
But it could have been. Look, these guys are not seasoned criminals. They're amateurs with like crazy beliefs. So I fully expect once all the evidence gets out that we're going to find how sloppy they were. Mm-hmm. At least on a digital sense, I think 90% of this case will be digital evidence. But with a body, it just makes for, a much more solid case against the both of them. I'm just curious to see what led them there. That's my big question right now. I'm not worried. Chad will be arrested for this. As of right now, he has not been arrested and charged as far as we know. But this is all a process. This is a step-by-step process where, they're gonna do everything they got to do. But he's not going to be getting back out.
Exactly. Yeah. Neither one of them.
No, their lives are over. So, wow, just big developments. Just all of a sudden today, I just thought that the search warrant might be a few things in the house. I was literally thinking maybe just cell phones and computers that cover since he's been living there. I never would have thought they were going to dig on this property and so quickly find remains. My mind's blown. I just can't wrap my mind around it right now, honestly.
Yeah, it's a lot of information to process.
Yeah, a lot of us, have followed this case since it became public. And, we were talking on the previous episode we did. We took a break because we were starving. We started doing this morning and realized it's up in the day and we haven't eaten. So we took a little break. But, just to think about where we've been. And just a few hours ago, we're just still speculating, and now arrest, human remains found, and the fact that, if in fact this is one of the kids, he has laid his head down, 30 feet from where remains are. He's a sick man.
Exactly. So there's been a post, I think the first one, and these are all non-confirmed, nothing's confirmed. It's called, I think, Dad with a Phone.
Yeah, he's a good.
He posted, after multiple failed bail bond reductions, Lori Vallow leads authorities directly to human remains on Chad Daybell's property.
Oh, wow. So it's unconfirmed. If you didn't hear her, after not being able to get bail, sources are telling Dad with a Phone.
Yep.
That Lori Daybell Lori Vallow Daybell, led police to the bodies. So we will find out soon if that is the case. I think that's probably the case.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody outside of this, such as Melanie or Ian or Melanie Gibb or any of those guys, keeping this close. I don't see them keeping this secret for them, so I think it had to have come from Lori. That's huge news. Huge, huge. Wow. The kids are safe. I just remember him saying that. Kids are safe.
Yeah, and in his mind, we know he's not in his right mind.
Right.
And we all question that. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I think we all had our theories of what that means when he says the kids are safe. I mean, safe to us means out of harm's way, alive, thriving. But to these guys, it just, if they feel like Armageddon's coming, we've always said it could be not safe, not on this earth. So, and what group was that one posted in for, Luke?
Where's Tylee?
Where is Tylee and JJ is where Dad with a phone. It was posted that he says Lori led them to the bodies. I'm going to look at his...
we talked about earlier, is that her way of avoiding the death penalty?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. We had talked about this on the earlier one, was that whoever did this, it could be a situation where, Idaho has the death penalty, and they could have confronted Lori with some proof about other stuff and said, look, you're not getting out. You're never going to get out. If you want to end this now and tell us where the kids are, and apparently, according to Dad with a phone, that is what happened. We're just kind of waiting on some confirmation for that, but we're just, nothing we say, we're just putting out here things as we read them online, so if something is not factually correct, there's no ill intent from us. We're just, literally doing this minute by minute as things come out, and I'm sure there will be clarification on a lot of stuff. It tends to happen when breaking news. There can be some misinformation out there. I typically look for Nate or Justin Loon, and that's, if they put it out there, I take it to the bank.
Exactly.
So, yeah, wow. I just figured it had to be that.
People are, there's been some comments questioning who could have possibly helped him with that burial.
Alex.
Was it, because, Tammy's funeral was in October, right?
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Yeah.
So, the kids, JJ went, he was last seen on, I think, September 23rd, or I think that's with the little ring camera or whatever.
Right.
And then she died October, was it 19th?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was October 19th. So then you throw in all those, the seminars and stuff they were going to.
Yeah. Well, I think, this is obviously just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to have a lot more information come out over the days and weeks ahead as to what happened. It sounds like Dad with the phone, who is a very popular crime guy in Colorado, is saying that Lori was the one that led them to the children, or to these human remains we're not saying for sure that they're Tylee or JJ, although it really, seems to be leaning that way. And again, our hearts just go out to Larry and Kay, Annie, Colby, all the guys that are, the ones truly affected by this. It affects us because we follow the case and you get to know the family members and talk to them and you're rooting right along with them. This has a good outcome, but on a day like today, I just, my heart goes out to everybody. And
I think, in looking back at people who put signs up and, drove by and, stood out in front of the courthouse in support of Tylee and JJ and the family and just all the things that have taken place. It's been a huge, huge thing, with a lot of people. And you hate to see it come,
Yeah, but I think at the same time, I mean, once all the dust has settled, I know you never get over these. I can't imagine that you would ever get over these things. I pray to God I never have to find out. But, then again, just the unknown being known. Yeah. I hope in whatever weird way it can provide peace. I hope it does. If in fact these are the kids, you just hope that there is some comfort in that, so that they're not just full of raw pain, but they're going to be full of raw pain. I guess knowing lets you get to a point to where you can start to deal with it. I don't want to say move on or anything. I think, they've got to digest this. I'm sure they've known over the last, while what the FBI and Rexburg law enforcement was leaning towards. They had to have given them some clue, although recently they said no sign of life, no sign of death.
Yeah, but obviously something has changed.
Yeah, I think they just, my opinion would be they backed Lori into a corner and she knew she had, what do you do? I mean, if you're backed in a corner, either you just keep your mouth shut, but you take somebody who's not a criminal, and she doesn't know everything they know. She knows everything that was done, but she doesn't know what they know. So it could be a situation where they've been feeling them out. It's kind of like smoking one of them out with Chad walking free for 4 months and Lori being incarcerated for 4 months. There's a reason for that. But I think at the end of the day, as frustrated as we've been at the lack of updates about this case to the public, I think maybe we'll find this is going to be a all for one where everything comes in and everything's addressed, everything's charged, and then we wait for trial or we wait for them to plead.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's going to go to trial right now. If they both plead guilty, I mean that avoids a trial at least for the Woodcocks and Annie and Colby and everybody else. They don't have to sit through and hear, on camera with the world watching what happened to their loved ones.
Yeah, exactly. There's been some posts about, could this possibly have been, if you remember right, Chad sent Tammy away. Right. To her parents' house. And could this have been the time that was done, and whoever he buried there, could that have possibly been?
That's a really good point. I wonder when she went to her parents. It was right before she died, yeah? Maybe like a couple of weeks before she died? I'm not sure.
I think it was somewhere latter part of September, early October.
She died in October?
She died October 19th, I think.
I have such a hard time keeping up with all these dates of who was last seen when, who died on what date. Like I said, we threw this together today just to get on the air with the breaking news, but so I'm sorry if it's a little disorganized. We will do better in the future. Let's see here.
This case has so many twists and turns.
This case is like nothing I've ever seen. I covered a lot of big trials up until a few years ago. Jodi Arias, Boston bombing, Aaron Hernandez, and I have to say this one takes the cake.
Hey, the dad with the iPhone.
Yes.
Isn't that what his name is on there?
Yeah, I looked on his Facebook page. There's no direct post about that though.
Yeah, he posted it somewhere else because I saw it. I just don't know what page it was.
I know there's so many tabs on my. my
So
OCDs.
Bernadine, I saw your comment. It's Dad with an iPhone. He's been posting. We've seen stuff from him before. He posted on a site, and I'm trying to find out which site it was on.
Did you say it was Where is Tylee and JJ with the red X?
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
probably
that
on that one.
So right now I'm on the True Crime Underground Lori Daybell Cult Mom page, but we flip between Find Tylee and JJ, which is another good group. They're all good groups. I know there's been some drama on the groups. I don't get involved with those. I post on every page. So if you're listening and you don't like this group or that group and we mention it, sorry. We just sort of get our information from everywhere.
And all the groups are basically wanting the same thing. They're
Right.
like
Sometimes,
kids
though, I'll tell you, when you follow these trials and you get a bunch of different personalities in a group, you do have your alpha trial watchers who can, it can get hairy in there. I've seen it. Even though everybody at the end of the day just wants resolution one way or the other, sometimes in the middle the personalities can butt heads.
Trying to find that link for you.
So I'm just right now kind of going on to Twitter and seeing if I see anything new.
They're doing a press conference at 3, I think.
Right now it's 3.
So we need to.
So we're going to
Let's
jump
pull it up.
over and see if there is a press conference. If there's a press conference, we're just going to let it play here. Hopefully you guys can hear it where you are. We're going to play it through my speakers. That way if you're going down the road, you don't have to mess around with your phone. We're gonna carry that for you here.
I'm looking for it. I don't see it, but
He could have deleted it, if it's this thing where, I know in the Suzanne, in that Colorado case, the internet was very quick when they were digging on the construction site that the husband had worked on. People had details online of what they had found or how they were led there, and then the search warrant, nothing was found. So, sometimes online, especially as this news is breaking, you have to be super careful because people can say anything and, people believe it. So we're trying to really go through Nate Eaton, Eric Gossart, that's Eric, that's his name, and Justin Loon's page. The three of them have been constant in all of this. So,
trying to find that live feed if it's out there.
yeah. So apparently right now there's supposed to be a news conference, although right now we're not finding any kind of a live stream. Just your normal stories on East Idaho News. Let's look here. I think...
I'm seeing that old one, but it wasn't long at all.
Yeah, so if any of you guys have a link to the press conference, if you could comment on our little thing in the groups and let us know, that would be great. We're just refreshing right now to make sure we catch it as soon as it goes on. So what are you guys thinking about all this? I think all of us are just kind of in shock right now. We knew the day was coming where he would be arrested, just not under these circumstances, where we find out maybe for months, those kids have been right there all along. That's to me, that's almost haunting. You know how you hear serial killers that'll go hang out at the crime scene because they get off on it? It's thrilling to them, and like you said, Fruit Loop, what was it you said about people that bury on, like, keeping it close? Or
kind of like sitting on a nest.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They bury it close so they can watch it. You read all the time, somebody sells a house and then somebody comes in and eventually does yard work or whatever and, unearths, someone who's passed away. But, I thought it was kind of weird. He was gone to his parents and out of,
Mm-hmm.
nobody saw him for a while. And then he comes back, and we talked about earlier about the, possibly putting in a trailer and stuff and,
Right.
Stuff like that.
Now, Fruit Loop, one thing I was thinking about, now I don't know if you remember, we have sort of entertained the psychic readings by, Reverend Serafina or something like that. Did she not say a while back that Chad had remains on his property? I'm pretty sure she did. I remember that.
See, I don't remember that one. I remember several of the other ones, and I don't remember that one per se, but I may have just missed that one.
I don't know. I could have swore she said that there was remains or some kind of something on his property that would break this case up. I know she had said there was in the Tammy death. She had a vision that there was poison used and it was somewhere in the house in a pencil holder. But I'm not saying that I buy into all this stuff. I do find it intriguing that the FBI does use psychic mediums. I do believe people have that gift. I haven't relied on it for this case. Just because I don't really super buy into it, but I don't discredit it either. I try to keep an open mind about things like this. I mean, there's a reason that, over the ages, law enforcement has used psychics when they've had cold cases that yield results. So, who knows? Sorry, my window here is blinding me with some sun, so I had to do that.
Trying to see if anybody of the family had reached out and said anything today, but I haven't.
Yeah, Annie Cushing has Kay and Larry were very active up until I guess about a month ago, which I kind of think maybe they were just told some not so promising news, or maybe they were just tired. I mean, good grief, you're living out your grief and your anguish in front of a world stage, and unfortunately, sometimes in these groups, you do get people who are nasty. And I know a few times I had read some responses to Kay's posts that were not nice. And so I understand for whatever reason that she disappeared. I can certainly understand. You don't need other people making you feel bad when you've got enough on your own.
Exactly.
Especially when you're volunteering your time and your position as JJ's grandmother and Larry as his grandpa to give all of us some insight into things. And
well, she was so nice, though, because I would reach out to her some and just try to give her some encouragement,
Yeah.
that, we were praying for her and all, and she always responded.
Yeah, they're all they're all super nice. And Annie's been working on a lot of data-related stuff. That's her job. And so she's been really diving into to find patterns and all that. I don't really understand that aspect of any of that at all. But, all the family has worked very hard to get their story out there. Colby's been on several talk shows. Colby's talked to media. Kay and Larry have headed a lot of these things up. Kay's the reason we found out the kids were missing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for me, and we talked about this on the last episode, it's kind of like, why would Lori ever think that nobody would ever want to hear from these kids again? Does that show you how deep she was into this? I'm not making excuses for Lori. But somebody who's completely sane doesn't do this kind of stuff. Your brain is not working as a normal mother, obviously. Did she really think that, hey, July is coming, Chad says these kids can't be here if I want to go to heaven? I mean, it's just, these cults have such a grip that, they'll convince people to leave everything behind.
Exactly.
And drink Kool-Aid that'll kill you at the end of the day. I mean, that's the grip it has on people, and a lot of those people are just like you and me. They don't have issues; they just get caught up. I'm curious to read any kind of a mental evaluation of hers, or
because they do that when they go in. I think they get a mental eval when you're arrested and go in. You get a mental eval,
right? But if in fact, and if you're just joining us, we heard from Dad with a phone that he posted in the comment section of one of the groups that Lori told them where the remains were. So we're waiting on confirmation for that. But I guess she got to a point to where she knew she was backed in a corner and this was never going to end well for her.
You think? I mean, you've been in jail, since what, February?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been out.
Right.
And, you're in jail. That'll get to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some, well, I'm the one suffering here and he's not, but I maybe it's a lot of different things, who knows. But I think sometimes, too, when you're faced with, they had nothing to lose by letting her just sit in jail. She wasn't going anywhere. It allowed them to know where she was while they dive into this investigation even more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be a situation where they told her in the last 2 days, hey, we know y'all killed Tammy. We know you killed Charles. We're gonna charge you with that. Where are the kids?
Well, it lines up with the article we read that they weren't going to release Tammy's autopsy results because they found something.
Oh, yeah.
We read that. That was one of the reasons they thought they hadn't released it. And that article came from, it was somebody that worked in with a coroner's office. They weren't anywhere involved in this case, but they were somewhere else. And that was where we saw that one. And so they said that was why they hadn't released the autopsy results, is because they did find something.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense because they released Alex's and they didn't find anything so far. So, you know, if they did find something, then, you know, if they went to Lori and said, look, we know this is how it happened, then that may have been a wake-up call for her.
Right. You get back to the corner, either you're going to fight or you're going to submit.
Yep.
So, according to Dad with a phone, what he's heard is that Lori told where these remains were. So, once we get confirmation for that, I won't fully believe it till we get confirmation. But, I mean, it seems that that's what I've been thinking all day, though, is it had to have come from her.
Yeah.
Chad's not going to call and say, hey, it's 7 o'clock, come to my house with your cavalry, and I'm going to tell you where her body is. No, the only logical one is Lori.
There was another one, you know, somebody threw out there, you know, could it be his son who was on mission gone, and he's been home because of COVID, and he noticed some things out of the ordinary?
It's a really good point.
I mean,
I wonder if they allowed him to come home when his mom died.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up. Anybody LDS that have done missions or are familiar, if you have a death of a parent, do they allow you to stop that mission and come home? I'm not sure. I know that you can't come home for weddings and stuff like that.
It's
but
like 2 years. I would think for a death they would, but I'm not.
You would think, but I don't know. So what are we waiting on now? There's supposed to be a news conference.
No, they're saying that was probably the one they had earlier.
That was very brief.
And that other one, it was brief, and they said that they wouldn't be back until they had the autopsy, like not the autopsy, but some more information on what they had found and everything. So
right, and Annie Cushing did say they had an anthropologist on scene.
It was on en route or whatever. Yeah.
So
that was earlier.
But I think for me, they found human remains, and the video you showed me, they are still digging very hard. They brought in a backhoe. So I'm curious now, is it a situation where, you know, they're looking for a second set of remains, which would answer a lot of questions that we've had for months.
Exactly.
Where are the kids, you know? It just makes me sick to think that if that is them, that their remains have been on the man's property. It's just, you know, you almost, I don't wish anybody ill will. It's just not in my soul. But, you know, gosh, I mean, that's just, it's so disturbing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of speechless still. I try to put into words what I want to say, but.
We're not going to know the full, you know, the whole story until trial or whatever, but.
Right.
I'm just, you know, trying to think of who else could be included in all this. People throw things out there all the time.
Right.
Of names.
Yeah.
And you just don't know.
Well, we'll see if it's confirmed what Dad with a blog said about this, or Dad with a phone, I'm sorry, who is claiming that Lori Vallow led authorities to this location in Chad's yard. And that's where they found at least one set of human remains. We're just waiting to see if, you know, they find anything else. And you said they carried out 40 bags of evidence from there?
Yep, that's what they carried out.
Was that from
items.
Was that from January or was that today?
No, that was today.
Because I know in January it was like 40-something bags as well.
They said it was today. They carried out 40 items from the house or whatever.
Yeah, so EastIdahoNews.com has updated their website. You now can see, is that a tractor? I don't know what that is. A front loader?
Yeah, it's a tractor.
Okay, a tractor. I'm not a country girl, sorry. So, like, something that has the scooper on the front, and they have a patch of land that looks like it's been disturbed. On the last one that we did earlier today, one thing I do want to point out is the Nate and East Idaho News went in the air earlier when this search was pretty new to get an overhead shot of what was happening at the Daybell house. And there is a fire pit. It's behind that barn, I would say maybe 50 feet. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. But straight back from the red barn on the property, there's a round fire pit. And that seems to be where I would assume they have found remains. But if you look at a Google map photo of that property, and it's what's current on there now, and it says 2020, although Google does not put on their pictures the actual year or date that a picture was taken, that land looks...
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Completely different. It wasn't disturbed. There was, grass there. Now I know they've got a fire pit, but I would be curious to know when that fire pit went in and how long it's been there. Was it after the kids went missing? Because the Google Earth photo, you don't see any of this. It's just, land.
Well, that's the backhoe that the cops brought in.
Okay.
That tractor. And they have mapped out and taped off more property to search.
Yeah.
So they've kind of gridded it out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wish we could put pictures up here. Like I say, we're very new to doing this. And we're kind of doing it at the last minute, but you can go to Google Earth and put in his address. I don't have that offhand. And then compare with some of the overhead pictures from East Idaho News Today. And you can see it clearly looks very different on that property. It looks like this was probably taken in spring because there's green grass around the house. But to the right where this is centered at, where this search is centered at, it looks like that land was freshly plowed. If you look here, Fruit Loop, that's fresh tire marks going around that. I would be curious to know when this was taken. Yeah. Because if you look at the two here, this is the same area, but
it looks like the fall, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, look at the grass. If it was, I would say summer, maybe into fall, because the trees are still green.
Zoom in that picture, see what kind of car it is.
So let's zoom in and see. It looks like Chad's. Looks like a. It looks like the Cadillac, but if you remember, there was a post made. We talked about this earlier. Emma Daybell said that she was getting rid of the Cadillac because it wasn't a farm vehicle, and turned around and bought another Cadillac. So it looks like there may be some tool, like some kind of riding equipment out, and it looks like that retention pond had water in it whenever this was taken. Today it is drained. Now whether or not authorities have drained, they wouldn't be able to drain it within a couple of hours. Right. So it looks like whenever this Google Earth picture was taken, they had freshly, they were grading this land or clearing the land off. I'm not sure. Interesting. I'm sure they're on top of that. These investigators are, the FBI, just when they're involved, you're screwed. You're done. DUN, done. Yeah. So we're just combing through social media right now, trying to find anything new. Annie Cushing earlier said she was called by a victim advocate who informed her they were digging, and then subsequently called her back and told her they had found remains. So that's how we kind of, got the news offhand.
Somebody's asking, if you've been placed in handcuffs, does that mean you're technically arrested? And,
No, you're detained.
Yeah. It's just, there's times where officers will handcuff somebody just for safety or whatever, but he's just being detained and questioned.
Right. So, but we could say this. I don't think you have anything to fear. I don't think Chad will be home by dinner. I think this is probably, this morning was the last day he sees freedom.
Which is what we've all been waiting on.
Well, yeah, it's been, it's been a long time and but I don't think any of us have ever felt like they, were messing around. We knew they were working hard on this, and there's so many agencies involved. I mean, it's like a puzzle piece, and this agency has a few pieces, and this agency has a few, and this agency's got theirs, and then you have to figure out where they fit in the big picture. And so it's not out of the ordinary for something this complex to take this long.
Yeah.
With missing kids, you want to hear every day, hey, where are the kids? Where are the kids? We don't know. They may have had information very early on that the likelihood the kids were alive were small, but they can't say it.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to know at what point, has the FBI said, yeah, we're just not, we're not confident. Could have been something slipped up in social media, text messages, a messaging app. What they've had to go through, the sheer volume of evidence, just, you would think that people were working 24/7 on this case.
Yeah. Another thing to point out, too, this is going to take a little bit probably because he probably lawyered up immediately. Well, his lawyer doesn't live there.
Oh, yeah, true.
So his lawyer's,
Very
4 hours away, I think?
I don't think he'll talk. Yeah, you're right. So he might not talk right now.
Yeah,
it might be a situation where he says, I want my lawyer, and his lawyer's got to come from where? Boise or Idaho Falls or something?
Yeah, it was like 4.5 hours.
I mean, Mark Means is over 3 hours away. I think
Yeah.
I remember, oh, God, if he comes, Katie bar the doors.
Yeah, so that's another thing. It could be, because it's all, what is it? It's almost 5:30 here.
So it'll be 3:21 there.
Yeah. So you're getting to the tail end of the day. So, he could already be there by now, though. But he could have got a heads up they were going to arrest him. I don't know.
Well, sometimes, the lawyers will try to negotiate turning somebody in. But I think in this case, the element of surprise is probably better.
Mm-hmm.
If you give them a heads up, they're going to arrest him. They may go drink some poison Kool-Aid. And then all your answer, at least his side of it's gone. So the element of surprise, I'm sure, in this case is, if Lori told where they were, she could have told them, at 4 o'clock this morning. We don't know how it went. Did she tell them a couple of days ago? They had to get the warrant, and they had to coordinate departments to meet up this morning at 7. So I would say at least for a day or two, this has been probably in the works, at least yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question. Where was he going?
Chad?
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good question. Yeah.
When he left, where's he going?
Probably not McDonald's.
Yeah.
There's no telling. Maybe he's going to drive to his parents' house. I don't know. We know where he ended up.
Exactly.
In cuffs, as he should be. Yeah. So we don't know if there will be another press conference today. They had a very quick one a minute ago. What did they say on it?
It was just that they would, they would let them know and be back when they had more information. That he was being questioned. They did find remains on his property. And so that's what we're waiting on.
So, I'm curious.
Here's the other thing. Those things took place, and if they are found guilty, and they did, in fact, take the life of, Tyler and JJ, they go get married.
Oh, yeah, nothing's wrong.
Yeah, that's
I've always thought that the wedding pictures were very disgusting,
mm-hmm.
but, it adds a whole other layer of slime. If these kids are buried in his yard, she makes cookies for his kids after their mom dies, and she's had a hand in killing her kids. It is sick.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It makes zero sense. It's just, as a mom, my need to protect is just as any other moms, any normal mom, which is, that's your whole purpose in life is to protect your kids and keep them from harm. And to think that she married the devil, essentially, and brought this on those poor kids, and somebody posted, I think maybe was it Annie who said, the day that Charles was killed, the kids were just in danger. Mm-hmm. The day Charles died, those kids were, and it makes sense.
Well, when you go back and look at, the police body cam from when, Charles is trying to find them and all, even though Tylee wasn't his blood daughter, he still referred to her. He didn't say my stepdaughter.
Right, yeah, or her daughter.
Yeah,
that's very personal.
He said, I'm looking for my daughter and my son.
Yeah.
And
for me, it's like, and I've thought this a lot, but it's even more enraging today given the fact we know they found human remains on his property. Law enforcement dropped the ball with Charles, and at that point when Tammy died, the kids were missing, but had they done their job when Charles died, or when Charles called him out to his house, he could not have made more clear she's out of her mind. And they dismissed him like he was wasting their time. We could still have alive kids today.
Yeah.
What do you think about, some of these law enforcement agencies? I mean, we've got names that we know of, and I'm not going to name it, but, there are people we think could have pulled strings to make some of this stuff go away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see maybe other arrests for obstruction or interfering with like a law enforcement investigation?
Could be. And, I know the families have been supportive of, law enforcement from the get-go. But
I think Annie was not as supportive. I think she told me, that not all of the family had 100% confidence in law enforcement.
Yeah.
She made clear she did not. And she has her reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not
but
doubting
you think
anybody.
now, when this is over, are there going to be civil suits brought in?
Probably.
Against law enforcement originally because they were, they kind of did drop the ball.
Oh, they majorly dropped the ball. I mean, had they just researched a little bit with Charles, they would have seen that there was an issue about her mental stability and, she was supposed to have had the mental evaluation. She did have that, right?
Yeah. But from what Melanie Gibbs said, it didn't take that long, right?
Right. And she said, look, I think the thing is this. If you watch Lori on the video in Arizona with Tylee and Melanie Gibb, she was working that officer a little bit. As a woman, I saw it. She kind of being a little slightly flirty, a little giggly, and that's when you would see Tylee kind of put her hand out like, hush. Yeah. But, I'm not saying that was the reason, but I think Lori knew how to work things, which makes me think, obviously, as deceiving as she is, she could probably take a mental evaluation and manipulate it to where, the person giving them the mental evaluation might think they're crazy for having her in the room.
Yeah, most definitely.
I think people are really good when they're evil at manipulating situations to their benefit.
Yeah. I read something this morning, it was a post, and they questioned, and I started thinking, why did Charles steal her purse?
Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind her purse? And their thought was he was hoping she would go to the law enforcement center to report it, and then they would catch her and lock her up for the evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not lock her up, but, take her in for that mental evaluation. But then you see law enforcement giving her a way out. And I've never understood that conversation with them.
Yeah.
Like he basically helps her avoid having to go, and, this is where we end up.
Right. And I think, too, it brings to light to me something that I've always said, which is, a lot of times male victims of domestic violence are dismissed because they don't see men as vulnerable to that. I think of that, especially with law enforcement, nothing against, I'm not trying to slight law enforcement, but, is it a situation where just on the surface, investigators dismiss male victims of domestic violence because they're male and don't take it as serious to where if Lori had told the same cop the same thing that Charles did, would it have been handled differently? And I think maybe, yeah.
Wow.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
I think if
and I know hindsight's 20/20.
Sure.
Like, but
yeah,
you have to. I mean, I would think I'm not a police officer, but you want to try to investigate as much as you can to see who's telling the truth.
right.
And you do have 3, people in there, throwing out, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Yeah.
So.
And you have to weed through because, at that point they weren't really known to cops. So I'm sure to the cops, everybody that they talk to, whether it's Charles, Lori, Alex, whoever, they assume whatever they're telling me benefits them.
Yeah.
Whatever they're saying to me is the version they want me to hear. Mm-hmm. But had they just searched the divorce proceedings and all that, had they done a little research, they would have found that there was cause, I think, with Charles to go deeper into that investigation and question that story, because at that point, Tylee was not missing. She could have testified or given an interview. And unfortunately, it looks like Tylee, is likely deceased. And so the only living witness to that is Lori. Now, does she come clean because she's already screwed? Maybe. Is that something she just doesn't want to add to the mix to make herself seem, if it's possible, any more crazy than she apparently is? That's to be seen. But sometimes once the fork is in, they'll tell all.
Yeah.
I think between the two of them, you'll probably get, a good bit of the story once,
And if it was her, how much had she already come clean and told them everything?
Yeah, we don't know. We have no clue what she has said to law enforcement. We don't know. I mean, look, here's the thing. She probably just did not wake up and say, I'm going to tell them where they are today. I think they've worked her enough to where, it's kind of like people just lose the energy to fight.
Yeah.
She's somewhat accustomed to jail. I'm sure she's not happy, but she's been in there nearly 4 months. And if they cornered her with enough evidence that they've got enough to charge them with something, it's just like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and get it all out there. There is some peace in revealing stuff. Mm-hmm. Weight off your shoulders. I've certainly been guilty of things, not crimes, in my life where, once I got it out, even if it wasn't, the thing that made me look like the best person, there was still a lot of relief in just having it out of my mouth and not swirling in my head 24/7. We don't know what she saw. Is she seeing bad things that happened this weighing her down? Is guilt getting to her? How much of it did she see? Did she see anything? Just so many unanswered questions right now. I think, we haven't even got started.
No, there's,
Yeah, we haven't even gotten close to half the story. It's just now still kind of hard to believe he's arrested, though.
Oh,
We waited for so long, and every time East Idaho News has an alert, I grab my phone, and, it's telling when this restaurant's going to open up and, from being shut down for COVID.
Someone just posted that he's been officially arrested.
Oh, wow, so they're going to charge him soon.
We're going to look up on... we're going to look up on the site here and see if we can find out if that's true or not. And I think another thing to point out, if Chad would have made the deal and told what happened, he would have been on site right there showing them where to dig, and that didn't happen. So we're trying to verify if he has been arrested. He's just been in for questioning right now. So we're trying to verify that information. Sorry, y'all. One of the questions out there is, was Chad allowed to leave while they were doing the search? And obviously that answer would be yes, because we were told that he was home early this morning when they went. So obviously at that point he wasn't under arrest, so he would have been allowed to leave, I would think, while they were searching.
Yeah, if he wasn't under arrest, he can leave. That's probably why they got him a mile down the road.
Yeah. So we're pulling up now and seeing if we can tell if he's been arrested.
That would be Madison County.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, we're going to see
And
if...
sometimes that's delayed.
Yeah, especially with this kind of a case. I mean, they might not throw it right up there. I'm not sure how it works. Let's see. Got it pulled up. Let's see if we see a D for Daybell. No, not yet. So...
He's not in the system yet, so...
Yeah, he's not listed as, his mugshot's not up, but that stuff takes time too.
I mean, we don't know when,
but Lori is not on this page, so we might not be on the right county.
let's see.
Might not be looking in the right place. He lives in Salem, but it was Fremont County that pulled him over.
Yeah.
So that Fremont County is where Tammy Daybell died. Rexburg was there because obviously if these are the remains of the kids, that's their case with the missing kids. But Fremont pulling him over, it seems to me like maybe they're going to pop him with Tammy as well. Why would Fremont be there if it's just about the kids? You know what I'm saying? I think maybe this is going to be all the charges at once coming down.
Yeah. Salem is Madison County.
Salem is? Okay.
Let's see about...
And we listened to the scanner today. They did say one was in custody, so I do wonder if that was him.
Could have been.
We were all a little...
It is Madison County, though, so...
Okay. But I'm going to check Fremont because that's Fremont County, Colorado. Let's look at Idaho. And see. Probably we'll see that mugshot from Nate and them first.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll give it to them just... because they're the ones that broke the story nationally. All right, so let's go to the sheriff website.
You go back and look at all the evidence. Going back to the plane ride that Chad took to Mesa.
Oh, yeah.
What is that about now,
Yeah, that's a good point. So tell everybody, Fruit Loop, about what that...
So, the Rex...
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
This was on September 19th of 2019. The Rexburg woman claims that she was on a flight with Chad Daybell from Idaho Falls to Mesa, Arizona. He claimed that he was helping a relative in the valley who needed to remodel her home. And his his comment was, he said, "I hope we can get this work done in the time that I have before I have to be back." And that lady wanted to remain anonymous, who gave that information. So that was on September 19th.
Yeah, so, and she recognized him because I think she had read a couple of his books, right?
Yeah, she recognized him.
Which is weird. I mean, I just can't imagine people would read this stuff for fun, but, you know. So, Fremont County law enforcement does not maintain an online inmate roster list. So, if Fremont took him into custody...
he may have to be transferred, maybe?
He could be. I don't know. It just depends on what they've arrested him for. We still don't know if it's the remains or Tammy's death or what. So it just depends on which jurisdiction actually arrested him as to where he's going to be. But
yeah,
I'm not sure how they'll do that. Because, I mean, you know, like with Lori, I mean, the chances are she's going to face charges in Gilbert, Arizona, for Charles's death. They said, you know, two months ago there was a leaked email from the investigator that they felt they were close to an indictment. So how will they handle that? You know, will they send her to Arizona to face those charges, or do they just sort of, I don't know. I don't know how they do it. If she pleads guilty, I mean, then I don't know how they do it. We'll have to find out some answers for you guys. I got a contact that I can send some legal questions to when she gets off work. So we'll try to find some answers. Then again, the official news outlets will probably have the answers before we do. So we're just, there's East Idaho News now has a photo gallery of the search on his property, just showing there's one tent set up and there are 3 tarps on the ground around this fire pit. They have the fire pit squared off, probably, you know, I mean, I'd say about 30 yards, 30 by 30. Yeah. 30 feet by 30 feet, maybe. I stink at math. Don't take my measurements as fact, but they have a pretty sizable area that they've roped off. So 3 tarps, 1 tent, and a slew of law enforcement vehicles. You know, so talking about the psychics, I mean, look, we're literally just sitting here thinking out loud. She talked about a barn or a cabin, but did she ever talk about a barn? I don't remember. Mm-hmm. You know, it seems to me like this barn might have some physical evidence if bodies were kept in there, or, you know, I just would like to know when these bodies were buried. Was Tammy alive at that point? I mean, you know, did he do this in the dark of night? I don't see her being involved in any way. You know, she seems so sweet. But I'm very curious. I'm also super curious is what's his kid's role in this? I mean, how do they not get suspicious that there's disturbed dirt? I think a couple of his kids still live with him. They're all adults. Some of them have kids of their own, but I do think a couple of them were living with him. Emma lives very close to where he does. That's his adult daughter who stuck her tongue out at law enforcement, or no, at somebody from the media.
It was media.
Yeah.
I think it was Nate and them, wasn't it?
I think it might have been Nate and them, but I mean, she's a teacher, and it's like she sticks her tongue out like she's 4. That always stuck out in my mind is, you know, just emotionally immature. You're talking about missing children, and you stick your tongue out. But it also confirms for me, I think these kids were just as deep as Chad was, probably because they were raised that way. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't, here's the thing, you know, when you're talking about, especially about religion, if you're raised in a certain religion, you take it as fact. I mean, no matter how crazy it is, there are kids born into cults. They grow up in that cult. They die for the cult. Yeah. That's the mindset, you know? So it's going to be interesting when all this stuff comes out to see who the players were, who knew what. I just don't think we have a clue as to what's about to come with this case.
And you look at all the cover-up, you know, of Colby, you know, texting, and then obviously somebody texting back.
Right. He said that one of the things that raised suspicions with him very early on was the hearts that Tylee would send were orange. And the one that he thinks his mom might have sent was a red heart. And he said that, looking back, that was weird to him because that wasn't like Tylee. And then also the lack of emojis. Apparently she must have used emojis like every teenager does. My daughter, she talks in emojis. It's kind of like, trying to figure out a mystery sometimes. So that was one thing early on that raised suspicion with him. And if you remember, Tylee's phone was found with Lori in Idaho, as well as their birth certificates, which at one point, when you think they're alive, you think, okay, well, maybe she's got the birth certificates because they're alive and she needs them for some reason, or your mind goes crazy in this. At least mine has with this case. I have thought up so many harebrained theories that, sometimes I question my own sanity about what I was thinking, but,
Somebody's asked a question about some dates. So Tammy Daybell visited her parents in Utah at Chad's urging on October 4th of 2019. So then you have Alex visiting the storage unit by himself on October 6th. Then you have Tammy Daybell getting shot by a masked man, or shot at by a masked man on October 9th.
So it's all right there together. Mm-hmm. And it's not proven that the kids were killed on the days they were last seen. If in fact they're dead. I mean, we don't have confirmation, so just trying to be careful with that. But, I would assume JJ is, I don't see them having them tied up somewhere, put it that way.
Yeah.
But is it a situation where that's when he buried things, is when she's gone? Is that why he sent her to the parents' house? They said she was in a good mood. She danced around the living room. Didn't seem like anything was weighing on her. I think in a lot of ways, Tammy just might have been oblivious to a lot of things with Chad.
We talked about, and there's been no proof, and this is just hypothetical, did Charles in fact get in touch with her?
Yeah, that's something I want to know. Did Tammy know about this, what we think to be an affair?
Yeah.
Before she died. And, it's kind of weird, but, if you look at pictures of her before all this stuff started, and you look at her at the times where we know Lori and Chad were known to each other and were seeing each other, I kind of noticed a little emptiness in her face. She got her hair cut off, and I made the comment, sometimes women, when, if she would have known Chad was having an affair, it could be that she did something that made herself feel better. Women are like that. We're like that, where, if something's gone really bad in your life personally, you might do something physical to make yourself feel better. I always kind of wondered if that chopping off of the hair wasn't kind of like a new me. Was Tammy maybe planning to leave Chad? Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of things that we don't know yet. And,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's just a lot of things that don't make sense right now, but I guess they will in time. Yep. So Fruit Loop said earlier, I don't know if you guys caught it, they're not really anticipating much more news until, I guess,
they have more answers.
Right, yeah. Probably at least an identification of that body. I wonder if you can ask anybody if we're still going. Yes, we are alive. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Oh, man, what a day. What a day. We're just looking through some more news stuff to see what we can find. And seems like the mainstream news is starting to really pick this up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big story. I bet Dateline's on their way. Probably getting ready to do big part 3.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we can find here. Yeah, if you guys hear a little silence, we really don't have any rhyme or reason to this right now. We're just sort of going with the news and, pulling things that people say online, talking about those, and just trying to get as much information as we can. I'd like to go back and see if there was anything else from the neighbor that provided the picture of them digging. Let's see here. So you have to wonder, I guess at this point, you know, they would have contacted family. They contacted Annie. I'm worried about Kay and Larry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really worried about them. I just know that this has to be gut-wrenching and, you know, not what they wanted.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I
It's
feel
just...
for them.
Me too. They're very nice people. So I'm just trying to see if I can confirm that he's been officially arrested. We know he was detained for questioning.
We don't know when Lori, if that's who
Right.
flipped. We don't know when that happened. So if that was, you know, yesterday, then Means may have hung around. So,
Yeah, Means well, yeah, I'm sure she wouldn't talk to law enforcement without Mark Means there. So, gosh, he's got his work cut out for him, and he is not firing on all lawyer cylinders, to put it mildly.
yeah, he's not even, this isn't his specialty.
Right. You know, I think he did some family law, but now you're talking about criminal murder. It seems to me if Mark Means is smart, he's going to punt this.
Well, can't and we've talked about this before, the judge say, no, you're not representing both in my courtroom?
I'm not sure about the legality of that.
I mean, you think about it. How do you do that?
Well, it depends, I guess, if Lori has ratted Chad out like I think she has. It seems to me that would be a conflict of interest to keep them both on. Now, I know the House of Horror parents out in California that had, 12 kids, and they were chained to the bed, and they were malnourished, and all that stuff. They had the same attorney, I believe, who represented them both, but I think they also, I don't know if they pled guilty, but they, you know, I've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got one turning on the other, I don't see him continuing to represent both, which I think if he even stays on the case, he would have to take Lori because that was his client first. I don't know how it works legally with that, but, you know, the other question is going to be, I mean, at what point does the money run out? We know Chad went bankrupt when he was still, you know, when Tammy was still alive. $450,000 is a lot of money, but I'm going to tell you it goes fast. Lori herself has had 5 attorneys to retain, each of those probably requiring a retainer fee.
Mm-hmm.
They lived in Kauai at a very expensive townhome. They flew places while they were there. Clearly, she bought Chad a new wardrobe because he didn't look like the dopey grandpa dad that clothes that he wore. You know, he kind of was dressing like he was 18 again. So $450,000 sounds like a lot of money, but you can go through that amount really quickly.
Oh, most definitely. You know, in trying to figure out, okay, who rolled, you know, who, you know, said where, you know, they were buried or a body was buried. And if you look at it, who has the most to gain is Lori.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because if you're going to do like some kind of a mental health brainwashing defense, and then you go, you know, if it goes to trial, you say, look, she ultimately told where they were. She put an end to all of this. Yeah, she didn't tell probably out of the goodness of her heart. It could have been like, okay, when we prosecute this, we're not going to go for the death penalty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times when a deal is struck, that's when they give up, or a deal is offered, that's when they give up the location. And it could just be what she knew they knew at that point. Because they're going to go in there and say, look, we know the kids are dead because we found this. We know you guys killed Tammy. We found this. We know Charles was murdered. We found this. And at what point can you have any hope that you're ever going to walk out of there? So what do? If you can't beat them, you join them.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I just, we'll have to see what all happens. But I think, yeah, the preliminary hearing, I don't think it's going to happen. No, I mean, not if this is the kids. If the remains are of Tylee and JJ or one or the other, the charges will just be upgraded.
Yeah, and we don't know. We don't know who it is right now.
We don't. I mean, who's to say that, you know, you just don't know. I mean,
as crazy as this case has been.
Exactly. I mean, it's not like there's, you know, as far as we know, anybody missing in Idaho. You know, I'm sure there are missing people, but nothing that's been even remotely tied to this case or to them. So, I don't know. I mean, it could come back as not the kids and it's something else. I mean, you know, somebody else. They didn't say if it was an adult. They didn't say if it was a baby. I mean, you just don't know.
Exactly.
Until you get confirmation. In this case, expect the unexpected.
So somebody asked, why would Joe Ryan leave his money, his life insurance money, meant for Tylee in the care of Lori?
Well, it could be, too, at the time Joe Ryan didn't know. I don't think Lori was as crazy as she was now back then. She wasn't involved in this cult with Chad, as far as we know.
Yeah, because he died in 2018.
No, that was Charles. Or was it Joe that died in 18?
Joe died in 18.
Well, I wonder when they got divorced.
They got divorced in like 2004.
So, you think about it. I mean, if they divorced in 2004, sometimes when you go to divorce court, they may say, look, one of the conditions of the divorce is you have to maintain this life insurance policy for your child. They will order stuff. I've seen it ordered like that, where they make you keep those current for the benefit of the child. So it could be maybe that was a court order. I don't know. Annie may know.
Yeah.
We could ask Annie, but I would be interested to know if that was court ordered to maintain that, or maybe Joe just did it out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, looking out for Tylee.
Right. I mean, gosh, maybe he wanted to provide her a way to get away from these people after being tased by Alex Cox.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see this is going to need to be like a 5-part, 10-episode, each part series on Netflix.
Yeah, it's going to be major.
I mean, to dig into this case, it could be like a whole series that lasts years.
Exactly.
There's going to be so many things that are uncovered, that little and big things, I think, but yeah, I mean, every time that I would watch something where they would lay out the case and they would put the faces of the people who are dead or missing on the screen, I never, watching those things, could think they're alive.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just so much death, so much uncertainty. Let's see, we'll check Justin Loom's Twitter and see if he has put anything else out. I bet Justin's probably headed to Idaho. No, the last thing that he posted was the last thing he posted was just that it was a timeline of the case. He also said that one source with a county search and rescue team tells me he has not received a request to assist in a search at Yellowstone Large Park without specific focus point to look for Tylee. FBI has not indicated a search ever happened there. So we don't know if a search has happened there. And he also said he had 2 different sources tell him that human remains were found on Chad Daybell's property. Tylee was last seen on September 8th, 2019 at Yellowstone National Park. JJ was seen on 9/23 at his school in Rexburg. So I guess the doorbell cam was the last video they have of him, but he was last seen in person at his school. I thought it was the opposite. So I've been following this case for 6 months and I'm still learning about it. So yeah, right now there's just not much going on. I think the next thing we'll hear is confirmation of his arrest and maybe his mugshot. Because according to what we have heard, what we have heard is that Lori led authorities to Chad Daybell's home where human remains are found. Dad with a phone, who is a pretty popular crime guy in Colorado, posted that earlier. We can't find the post. I don't know if it just got lost in the mix. There are so many comments going up about this case nonstop, or if he deleted it, but he had been told that Lori led them to this Chad's property where human remains are found. So, yeah, I think at this point tonight, maybe the last thing we're going to find is just a mugshot.
Yep.
I don't think there's going to be much more.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is we'll end this right now, and if anything crazy happens, we'll hop back on. But until we hear a little bit more that we can discuss, we'll end it here. We'll probably be back on tomorrow at some point with everything going on. Probably be on all this week. And thanks for listening. We hope that you guys will share the podcast. We're going to stick around this case until the very end and probably after. Probably years from now we'll be talking about this case. I still talk about Jodi Arias, and it's been so many years that we sat in that courtroom. These cases just, every now and then something new will leak about that case, and I think this case will be like that. But, we plan on covering other trials. We plan on covering the Mr. Aubrey case down in Georgia, the young man that was murdered while jogging, the George Floyd case. We're going to follow all that stuff. But right now we're going to focus on Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, since that's kind of the main case that we've been talking about for months. Any updates in the others we'll certainly bring to you. But all those cases have had hearings recently where now we just sort of wait for trial down in Georgia, and then with George Floyd, there'll be a preliminary hearing at some point. So we'll cover all that, but thank you guys. Fruit Loop, tell them bye.
Thanks. See you guys.
Yeah, and I'm going to get a dedicated Twitter page for this podcast where we're going to answer questions. We'll share interesting stuff that we find, and eventually a Facebook page and all that. But since this was so sudden, we're sorry that this is very primitive, but we just wanted to get out there and talk to you guys as this was unfolding, and we will talk to you all soon.
See ya.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.